Well, hello, everybody. It's a really great day today. I have a couple of gentlemen with me for the Stramaglio Show. So, welcome, gentlemen. And I think the number one question that I have, I've known Tim for many, many years, and now I get to know his son quite a bit. And welcome again to the show. So, the first question is, Tim, how do you officially pronounce your last name?
Well, Mike, I wonder, do you have a guess?
Okay, so or put me on the spot. So I now understand that it's a Polish name, not a Stramaglio name. So I'm going to say Schlitzel.
I've definitely heard
Not even
worse
close.
guesses.
Not even close. So what? How do you say it correctly?
It is simply sigil. Think of it Sigel, sigil.
Sigel. Okay, good. Now I've got it. Now you get to say Stramaglio.
Stramaglio.
Okay.
Stramaglio with the soft G. Yeah.
Soft G. Soft
Hmm.
G. So thank you again for taking the time and joining us on the show. I know a lot of people have been. Uh, we've shared clients, we've shared the industry, we've shared services, we've shared trade shows along the way. Especially Tim and I go back quite a bit. So I'm just the second question I should say out of my little brain to yours. How does it feel to have Tim, your son, working with you today?
Mike, it's one of the best things I get to do every day, and it's a real pleasure that my son has the skills, but also has the will and interest to work with me. And he's such a wonderful person. He makes me better. He makes the company better, and I'm lucky. And I don't know if we'll always say that. Things go up and down, but while he's with us, he makes us better, and he makes the day better. And I really am the luckiest guy in the world.
Well, that is a very nice thing to say. So, how do you feel about that, Matt?
Well, whether your last name is Sigil or whether it's Reniger or whether it's Cucco or whether it's Stramaglio or Minor, it's a industry that's dominated by people who work with their families, and I think there's a reason for that. We all have something to learn from you all. I can tell you just this morning when Dad and I were on a call at 8 a.m., we had something to learn from each other. And that's the approach I try and take to it every day is I have a lot of knowledge that I can gain from the two of you, from other people in the industry that's tribal. And that's really important to me as we think about, and as a theme that you bring up all the time, the next generation of people coming into the industry. We have a lot to learn. And that knowledge, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And it can help us to inform what's next.
So, Matt, and that's well said, actually, and I share that conviction. We need young people coming into the industry on an ongoing basis for long-term future sustainability. So, I'm happy to see people like you in the business. And I'm kind of curious, at what point, Matt, did you think to yourself, I think I want to work for my dad. I think I want to be involved in this industry.
Now, you wanted some fun stories today. That's actually a pretty good one. Because there was never a point when I decided independently that I wanted to jump in and be a part of the office technology industry. Right after college, I was a roadie. I traveled with musicians. I set up big video walls and lighting equipment, and I spent several years right after college on the road, Mike. Um, I would go and visit my dad at BTA shows when we happened to be in the same city, whether that was, remember, Tacoma, Washington, out in Tacoma, or whether it was Florida for a BTA show. And I had a big, terrible beard and long hair. Didn't suit me.
Let me
But
fix
then,
that, Mike. He had a little scrubble that he called it.
yeah,
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. I was wondering about that.
yeah, I look much better today. But then COVID hit, and there was just about 5% of the event industry that kept their jobs. 95% of people lost their jobs overnight, myself included. Dad called me the next morning and said, "How would you like to start by taking on a small project and building us a new website?" And it kind of cascaded from there.
And again, it's a pleasure to have father and son or siblings or family involved in any of the podcasts. I've had the pleasure of having quite a few on the show, so it's kind of fun to see it continue. And Tim, you and I have gone back quite a ways. I do remember actually when you started the company and you really you kicked it into high gear.
Was that your MWA days or?
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious. Why did you get in the business?
That's a really good question. And, the answer is really, my passion. I mean, I was I started on Wall Street and then I switched over and ultimately worked for GE Capital. I worked for a number of the GE businesses, but GE Capital. And, 40 years ago, I created GE Capital's first e-commerce platform to help the small ticket office technology group better utilize technology. And I fell in love with the industry. Back then, they were still saying that paper was going to go away, Mike, if you can recall. And I still have a lot of paper in
Yeah.
my office. But no, I mean, I created the platform for GE Capital, but then very quickly realized that there was I could only help the community of dealers if they did business with GE Capital. And that's not the case. Almost nobody's sole source financing. And so I left GE Capital, created my first company, and again, it was a technology company for finance companies. And a number of the finance companies, the captive finance companies, bought my product. And but again, I realized I could only do business if they did business with that bank. They were very short-sighted, and so I sold that company called Novometric. Took a couple of years off, and then started SalesChain. And the premise of SalesChain was very simple. I wanted to help people sell stuff. I really didn't care what they sold. I didn't care who they sold it to. I didn't care who they bought it from. I didn't care who they financed it with. I knew that I wanted to help companies sell stuff. And that was the premise for starting SalesChain 24 years ago.
That's interesting. So, and I'm going to kind of bounce back and forth here a little bit.
Sure.
So, if that was the beginning, the early beginnings, the vision, um, and I could probably say this is born a little bit out of my own ignorance, but there was a long time where you were considered to be a CRM company, right? And so, from your vision to today, that's where are you? What do you want the industry to? How do you want the industry to think of sales chain? Yeah, so I'm going to start with you, Tim, and Matt, if you could pick it up.
That's a really good question, Mike. And I think that, last week we were in Tampa at the Pro Dealer Group meeting, and we gave a 45-minute presentation to the group. And I framed it up simply as, in many respects, sales chain is a reflection of the industry, of the technology, the dealers that are selling technology. And when I say technology, I'm not just talking print, I'm talking IT, managed services, water, you name it, document management, scanning. But we've become a company based on what their needs are. And so, yeah, we were viewed because we work with sales. People think we're a CRM, but we're really, a CPQ platform. We're really a document generation and a lease financing and funding and order processing. And we're the company that connects the ecosystem together, sales and marketing and operations together, e-automate, ConnectWise, okay, the leasing companies together. And that's what we've become based on what people have asked us to do over 24 years. And it's really fun.
And Matt, how do you want the industry to think about sales chain?
As a great connector, just like Tim said. And I think that has a big lens and a big focus today on how we're integrating with a lot of the finance companies. That's a focus on our roots, Mike. When you talked to Brad Nepper on the show a few weeks ago, I watched that episode and he said something to the tune of the best dealers are those that stay together for 20 plus years and have a great focus for 20 plus years, right? They are able to reference that and grow upon that and build a reputation in a positive way. um, we over time have really added a lot of different services to what sales chain does, and we've got a big map that shows all of those features and functions. And so we asked ourselves recently, what are the most strategic things that we help dealers with. What do dealers rely on us the most for, and how can we do the most good in the community of the dealers? And that really led us to being the best quoting tool in the space, making sure all of the hardware is easy to access, pricing is updated and easy for salespeople to do. If salespeople can do 15 quotes in the time it takes them to do 5 right now, then I hope that we could work on those declining clicks, right? Um, but then I think more strategically and more long term for us is going to be the relationship that we've started to build with the finance companies. If we can help dealers fund deals quickly and apply for credit more quickly and make that process easy, develop muscle memory so folks can do it in one platform instead of many. That's the kind of efficiency that we've tried to focus on, and somewhere I see us growing to. Because, Mike, CRM can kind of be a flavor of the week depending on what's popular. Today it's AI. Who knows what it's going to be tomorrow? But at the end of the day, all these businesses still need to do the paperwork. They still need to make money, and they still need to apply for financing on behalf of their customers. And those are things that we know we can help dealers with really well.
So, can you explain a little bit further? I know that I believe recently you've been championing the leasing company integration component and order processing component. So, could you summarize that for the listening audience? What is that, and why is it so good, and is it unique?
It's absolutely unique. And the bottom line is that everything that the dealer is doing leads to one thing, and that's getting paid, right? This industry, 90+% of what is sold is financed. And so everything that happens within the dealer, whether it be the sales, marketing, operations, contracts, and everything, I refer to it kind of as a funnel. Everything, all these efforts go into getting to the point of the funnel, and that is to get funded by the leasing company. And so what SalesChain has done over the years is we've evolved from an information-based tool to a ecosystem that integrates with all of the people, processes, and systems within these dealers to help facilitate the process of selling. So pricing, documentation, there's rules in all of this. There's who should I sell to? So the portfolio management aspect of things, and to the cyclical sales cycle that we're all so excited about and leveraging over many years. And all the finance companies are central to this. And so we partnered with all of and that's the difference. We partnered with all of the finance companies. So every single one of them, big and small, technical, non-technical, there's a variance, okay, in all of them. But we work with all of them to make them integrated with the sales process so the dealer can choose who they want to do business with and have that process of doing business made more efficient. And we're pretty proud of that. That's what we've been working on. And I think that we are successful so far. And we're only going to be more, just to give you a perspective, $2.2 billion worth of products were priced in our system last year. That's a B, right? And that turned into $800 million worth of orders.
What's really cool about that is we talk a lot, whether it's ECS, Mike, or other areas in the industry, about how we can find areas where we can eliminate manual work, how we can do more with the people we have. The themes of AI, the themes of automation come up in that realm a lot. And to be able to automate the paperwork, the application, the manual work that's currently going into typing into many different systems is what we want to focus on. And that's where the theme of being a great connector kind of comes in and ties this up for us.
So, and excellent answers. The other part I'm really curious about, and you were at ECS, I think, and heard just a continuum, a continuous flow of AI information. Everything incorporates AI. So, what do you want the audience to know? What do you want the dealers to know about your incorporating AI into what you do?
What I want people to know about how we're incorporating AI into what we do is that we're trying to do it very safely. We house a lot of dealer data, and so we are step by step being really cognizant of what AI would touch before we take any sort of grand rollout and grand step, right? We have to be really bearish about it, just to make sure that the data that we have from hundreds of dealers around the country is kept safe. There's two areas where we've started to explore it. The first is with helping our own team automate our support knowledge base. And our team internally is leading a charge to take all of our knowledge base documentation, feed it to a model that we house internally, so that we can start to use that to reference our own material and make our support team quicker. As we potentially grow abroad, to also offer something like after hours support could be an eventual graduation of that. But then maybe to grow that into offering things like sales suggestions within the CRM aspect of our tool based upon what products are selling well with what verticals is an area we've explored.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, AI is, you and I are old enough where, data, I look at AI as being a modern day, data driven, intelligence, data driven action, right? Workflow automation. AI is certainly very, very powerful. It's scary as you know what, too, because as Matt mentioned, the amount of data, the sheer volume of data that we have that we're responsible for protecting for our dealers is something that we have to take extremely serious. And because of the nature of our real-time integrations to the finance companies, to the dealers, to the ERP systems, to, ConnectWise, to the, CEO Juice, you name it, AI is something that we're very careful about. We have been doing data-driven suggestions, data-driven workflows, data-driven prospecting for 24 years. It's where we started with helping dealers manage their leasing portfolios better. And so now we're all learning how to do AI securely.
I think we could probably talk for another hour and a half about artificial intelligence. And if you were at ECS, oh my God, you heard Kevin Ellison. I think he scared the entire room. But so let's go back a little bit to the personal side of the business. So, and I'm very curious about this, Tim. What do you say you're most proud of with the creation of SalesChain? What made you go, yeah, that was good. We did that good. What was that? Was there a moment?
That's a great question, Mike. And what I think what I realized that we have learned to be and that we're good. We have listened. Over 24 years, we have listened. We've made mistakes, okay? Just like you. We all have made mistakes. We've bet on certain roads or technologies. We've said a few things that we probably wish we could take back, to different people. But I think what we have done is we've demonstrated to people, business leaders, big and small, that they can achieve the things that they never thought they could achieve if they look at it in a creative, open-minded way. My feeling, I grew up in the Jack Welch GE era of GE, okay? We were number one, number two in everything, or we didn't do it, right? And I always prided myself in being, I would go into a discussion with managers or owners now, and I say, tell me what your number one or number two problem is. And if I can help you solve it, you're going to love me. And you're probably going to ask me to do something next when I'm done. And so we tackle hard problems. It's not always easy, but we tackle hard problems. Less is more. Our philosophy is less is more. Do it right, and people will love you for it. They'll appreciate it. And I think that that's something that I have. When I look at the business, that's what I'm very proud of, is that we listen. I mean, the people who work at SalesChain, Mike, many of them have been here for 18, 19 years. They could go anywhere and make more money, okay? But they're here because we've created an environment. Our customers love them. They like our customers. And so that environment characteristic is second to my point of what I really look at and love. And I've got some great customers. I mean, we've worked with companies like Gordon Flesch for 23 years. The generational change that we're talking about, we've seen firsthand And so there's example there. I go to Columbus and talk to Tom, and he gives me wonderful advice, and and Patrick and Mark taking the reins. To see that is a wonderful example for Matt and I. And should he decide that that's what he wants?
That's interesting. So if I were going to encapsulate that, you created a culture, and you're proud of that culture, and you should be. It's sustainable. You've got 19-year employees. That's incredible. So I'm going to ask, if you can answer this question, given your youth, what so far is your most proud moment at SalesChain?
Wow, that's a my most proud moment. I guess the humble. It sounds kind of silly, but I almost lost Gordon Flesh once. And you might think that that's a weird thing to reference, but years and years ago, about 12 years ago, I almost lost Gordon Flesh, and I went and I met with Tom in Columbus, and I sat down with him, and we had a heart to heart conversation, and he gave me the opportunity, and we responded successfully. And so adversity, when something bad happens, respond. You can have that knee jerk and run, or knee jerk and blame somebody else, or you can look in the mirror and be humble and say, I messed up, or maybe I didn't do something right, and I need to fix it, and not give up.
Interesting. And if I can throw the same question over to Matt, what would you add to what your father said?
Well, I would say if we look through my lens, some of the proudest moments that I've had so far have been just participating and being part of the community. I think for a long time we had a focus on, ourselves and being sort of a walled garden. You used our tools for everything, or you didn't use us at all. And opening that up to integrations more deeply, reaching out and being part of the BTA, the IBPI, participating in Andy's newsletter, participating in the consortium and the ECS. Mark Grice runs a great program at the IBPI that I'm stoked to be a part of too. Um, Reaching out and becoming part of the community has taken years of my effort. And it's something I'm really proud of because, Mike, I've never been cool in my life. I love geeky stuff. I love the numbers and the technical things that we at SalesChain do really well. We've never been the really cool software platform, but we are one that does a really good job for the people we work with. And to be a part of the community, despite not having kind of that cool kid card, is something that I'm really proud of because I love participating. I love being in that room to understand what people are focused on and where we can grow into and help. And so being present and growing that presence in the community is what I'm most proud of, I think. And I've still got a ways to go for us, but
Well, I think you're pretty cool. So
trying, doing all that while still trying not to irritate people too.
yeah, I've never heard that before. So
No,
I'll probably steal that one from you, but
please.
but I think you have earned your cool kid card. So and I like your attitude about it.
But let me add something to what, kind of in between the lines to what Matt was saying, is that, I think, this whole, the exciting aspect of having the generational, uh, multi-generation in the company is that old guys like you and me, we can learn new tricks. You know, I think that, there are times where people in the company may come to you or me, and we've got 10 things going on in our mind strategically, and they say something, and they think that you're not listening, but in reality you are. It's just that you're thinking about four other things too, right, as a business leader. But what I've learned is that Matt says a lot, right, and I learn from him, and the generational change has allowed me to respect a different perspective. And it's been a really good perspective change. And so, for example, the whole CRM thing, we built an integration to Salesforce.com, okay? Because we recognized that there were dealers that like Salesforce.com. And so Matt convinced me that, Dad, there's 50% of the market that is closed to us because they like Salesforce. And I said, you're right. And, sometimes it takes the son who can talk to dad in a different way to do that. And that's one example that I think about all the time and say, the old dog can learn a new trick.
Oh yeah. Well, many of us can. Some I wonder, but yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to come back to, we're getting down on a 30-minute mark here, but I got a couple of more important questions for you. So, Matt, what has been your biggest frustration, coming not necessarily into your company, but in the industry?
I'm a pretty even-tempered person. I think my favorite Sinatra song will reveal that too. I've got the Daily Stoic sitting on my desk. My biggest frustration is not something that I let myself succumb to a lot.
Well, you think that one through, and unless you have an answer, otherwise I'm going to throw it to your dad.
My biggest frustration, Mike, is very simple. I do feel that I run into this, and I know you probably have too, is getting people to think about change as a good thing. Change is a good thing, not for the sake of changing, but I think that there are a lot of people who are stuck in their ways. And we're experiencing right now. I've had 3 conversations today on this topic in terms of what are ramping up some resources to go and evangelize process automation and change. Because when you bring these technologies or products, whatever you want to call them, to an industry, like you said, AI, that's changing things. And you have to have business leaders and people in the various disciplines in the business be willing to say, maybe I don't have to do that anymore. Okay. I'm going to accept that technology because it does it better, it does it faster. But there's a lot of people who are afraid of change because they don't want to lose their job. They think that, they're going to be replaced by technology. And this industry, there's a lot of that. And because there's a lot of mom and pop businesses, smaller businesses, and so forth. And but change is coming. You can't deny it. And so, trying to be compassionate and considerate when we communicate that, it is hard sometimes.
I would have to agree with you. And you're right. We've confronted that along the way, especially when you're innovating. So, and which you've been a great innovator. So I have two final questions for you. One is a simple one. Um, but the next question is, are you excited about the future of the business? And I'm going to go to Matt on this one first.
Absolutely. I think to piggyback off biggest frustrations, am I excited about the future of the business? Absolutely. There are so many dealers and so many processes that we have in this industry that still accept a status quo of how things have been for decades. That frustration that Tim has had, that I have had with that piece of the industry, is also what I'm most excited about for the future of SalesChain and for the industry. There's a tremendous turn right now in technology, and there's a tremendous opportunity to leverage that to be a resource to your clients if you're a dealer. And we need to help enable dealers to do that. So that's what I'm most excited about, finding the next challenge that will help dealers overcome.
Awesome. And Dad, how about you?
Mike, I wake up every day excited. I think that this industry that we're in is just so exciting to be in, and that we're in the forefront of opportunity and growth and innovation. And we've established some wonderful partners in the industry, and we're getting new ones. And I think that um, I have been rejuvenated, okay, in the last 4 years, 5 years since Matt joined the company. He brings energy, he brings ideas. We execute on those ideas and we're having a ball. And I can't wait to see what the year brings for us.
Absolutely. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, me?
You're running the breakaway team. You have Jenna in the industry. You're a tremendous enabler of all of us, second generation, next generation young people in the industry. What gets you most excited about breakaway team, about us, or about where the industry is going next? Because we've talked a little bit about that. I'm sure you could connect that piece. What gets you excited?
Well, thanks for asking me a question. I appreciate it. I really am. And the breakaway team actually it's rejuvenated me. So I think people like your dad and myself and others, that are of age, we have a real responsibility to leave the business in good hands, good, capable, young Turks who have the passion, the desire, the intellect, the imagination to pull, yank, push, kick the industry into the next generation. And you've heard me before on the breakaway team. One of the things that really excites me is the opportunity to influence so many young people and make you realize, lead you to realize your responsibilities are far greater than your day job. Your responsibilities are to everyone you come in contact with of any age to inspire, promote, and create a path that is exciting for the industry. And I believe that in my heart and soul. I'm 75 years old. So what's gonna motivate me? What inspires me? Learning, curiosity, and where are you gonna get that? From you. You're going to get it from people like you, people like, Tom, Tony, or whoever, Vince Maselli, anybody that I want to point to, Jenna, right? It's you people, you young leaders, that if you embrace the logic that says, I'm bigger, I'm part of something bigger than self. And if you embrace that responsibility and you realize your ability to inspire people, then we're all going to win. Everybody wins. It's float all boats all over again, right? And you've been a welcome addition. We need to encourage more, content, communication, better idea generation, execution. But at the end of the day, I mean, Tim, can you imagine me on a phone call with people who are somewhere between 25 and 40 years old and all the things that they can teach us in 20 minutes? So it's a long answer, probably too long, but you can tell I'm passionate about it. And if you can, Matt, if you and Jenna and Anthony Del Grosso and Stephanie Keating, all of you young people get out there and just welcome that, embrace it, man, what a better world.
That's right. And that's where that community piece ties in my opinion. Like you said, it's not just 9 to 5, it's connecting with people around. So I value it and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Well, we're honored to have you. I'm going to leave the sage advice with the sage, wise old guy. So, Tim, what is the one message that you want to send out to the industry, and you can leave us with that thought? What's a one encouraging message?
I think the encouraging message is opportunity for growth, for innovation is there. It's here today. And all of us who are in the industry are, and in our company and your company, we're just excited to see what happens to this industry and watch it grow, watch it adapt to and embrace additional, not just technology, but people and processes. Uh, and I'm excited to be part of it. And so that's what I would say to everybody.
Awesome. Okay, so we're coming down on the end here. I cautioned you that I'm going to ask you what's your favorite Frank Sinatra song. So, Matt, I'm going to ask you first because if you got an answer, I'm going to be overwhelmed.
That's got to be That's Life. I'm a stoic at heart. And to be able to address that same kind of stoic philosophy, take anything that comes your way, overcome it. I love that sentiment. And That's Life has got to be my answer.
Awesome answer. How about you,
It's, a,
Dad?
it's easy for me, my way. Mike, I've lived the most blessed life, and I am the luckiest guy in the world. I've got wonderful children. I've got a wonderful wife Linda 40 years, and they've allowed me to participate in their lives and continue to do so. And I live every day with a smile and a heartfelt thank you to everybody in my family, because that's what it's really all about for me is family. And so I did it my way.
Well, I love both choices, and they seem appropriate for each one of you individually. So I want to thank you for joining the Stramaglio Show. We will be sending this out shortly to the industry and beyond. So again, very honored to have you. Very much appreciate your friendship, your support of the show and ECS in the industry. So you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Mike.